So let's call to order the work session for September 23rd at 6 p.m. And this evening we have a presentation, item 2A, regarding the People and Culture Department. Robbie Craig, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Robbie Craig, and I'm the People and Culture Director. Thank you for another year of continued support, and thanks for the opportunity for letting me highlight some of our accomplishments from our department. I'd like to introduce you to two new members of our team. Kaipo Cowan joined us as our Risk and Safety Officer, and Bismarck Meza joined us as our HR Information Systems Analyst this year. I'd also like to highlight that Sheena and Belinda exhibited our forward-thinking core value by earning their accreditations as Society for Human Resources Management Certified Professionals. We are committed to promoting the city's first core values every day. We aspire to be the city that other cities compare themselves to and where people want to work. By investing in our people through compensation, benefits, and learning, we recognize it is our job to inspire excellence, cultivate strong relationships, and ensure that our values are reflected in the services we provide to our community. As of today, we've brought on 97 new employees this year. Our fun camps and aquatics programs were fully staffed with 167 seasonal hires, and 67 of those were returned from last year.
You say 97?
67.
No, I'm so sorry. You said, but you brought in 97 this year.
97 new people this year. Yes.
That's not a small number.
It's not. Our current head count is 466. 437 of those are full-time employees. And given today's staffing, when you look at the positions that are set for FY26, that puts us at about a 6% vacancy rate.
May I clarify, when you say 97 new employees, is that out of the 437 or is that out of the total?
That would be out of the total. There may be some part-timers in there. The seasonals are separate, so It would be 97 plus the 167 that we onboarded for seasonal.
So you're saying 97 FTEs?
Yes.
Again, that's not small.
We stay busy.
What do you think the impetus? I know that you talked about the characteristics for which you try to foster the environment. What do you think the impetus to have almost 100 people want to come work for the city?
I think employer referrals have been a huge part of our success. I do not have that number in front of me, but I think the word of mouth, we try to get out and advertise in as many places as we can. Our LinkedIn presence, our communication team, and the support they provide, I think we do a really good job of broadcasting our postings and doing direct reach out to people that we know are qualified and we'd like to join the city.
So that's a lot of new hires. What's our turnover rate?
Turnover rate, we'll get to that in a few slides,
Okay.
but voluntary was about 11% right now as we're ending the year, and total turnover 17%, which is right in line with what our comparison cities are
I was about
seeing.
to ask you, what's the industry? So is our comparison cities in line with industry average, or are they below or below industry
I would say
average?
that's below average. I would say average is more in the 20s, and I misspoke when I say comparison cities. I'm speaking particularly of our surrounding cities. We did a poll in the last couple weeks of geographically our cities that are close to us. When we talk about compensation, we look at cities that aren't necessarily just in our area, but are of similar size and similar growth. But for turnover, we looked just in our competing geographic area. I want to talk a few minutes just about our We Hire Vets designation. We've maintained that for the third year in a row. Currently, we have 14% of our employees are self-identified as veterans. Kaipo and Kevin on our team are both veterans, and I think that's been really great for our outreach as well. We have just become approved to become a Department of Defense Skill Bridge program partner. This allows eligible service members who are in their last 180 days of service to participate in civilian internships, apprenticeships, and training while still receiving their military benefits and pay. And the idea is hopefully we can train them and then they can transition into civilian positions. So we're starting that partnership with Public Works.
I'm trying to figure out how everybody's being so quiet about this excitement.
No, I just,
Oh, that is really wonderful.
amazing.
That is amazing.
So
That is amazing.
So, I mean, how many other cities get that designation or opportunity? I mean, that's pretty significant as a trust of the federal government and what we're trying to do here.
And we'll be honored we have a council meeting shortly around Veterans Day, and we will receive our official designation certificate on that day. I'm not sure what the percentage of cities are, but we've really increased that percentage since I've been here, or at least it wasn't being tracked very carefully. We may have had all the veterans, but we didn't have everybody identified and weren't tracking it. But last year we were at about 11%.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Oh.
I probably didn't convey it well. The DoD Skill Bridge
Yes.
designation. So, do we know how many other cities or entities? Because just like you said, this is in their last year, and so you would not just be loaning out your your armed services unless you believed in the entity that was working there to help transition the applicable skills necessary for them to succeed.
Absolutely. So I don't have that information.
Okay.
I do have a question as well. Is this information shared in some way, or do we table at events that our veterans, supported by the city council, are already doing within the city? So this information is being shared out as well by word of mouth from our people within.
And we try to participate in events that we're invited to as well. The Texas Veterans
Invite.
Commission always invites us to job fairs. I know Kaipo and Kevin have both attended. Kaipo even spoke at the Veterans Job Fair Con, they call it, just last month. So we are trying to get out there and share that on our social media as well.
I mean, also, I think the invitation goes both ways.
yeah.
And that it would be really great as well to see some of them
Start.
sometimes man the table.
Keep you on.
Woman
updated
the
on
table,
things I hear. Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
This has come a long way. I mean, from the old days, it was they gave you your DD 214 and you're gone. There was no training, no transitioning, nothing. So this is an amazing
Yeah, that's
program.
that's amazing. It really is. I'm like, wow.
For me, it has a whole mental piece. The unknown is scary. And, and so to have a plan is just really beautiful.
Thank you. And after the veterans spoke at the opening of our last meeting, we've partnered with the library and we're working on setting up some Saturday sessions to help veterans with resume building and counseling and applying for jobs that way as well. So
During football season?
we'll schedule carefully. And here's that turnover slide. So as I said, we're ending the year with voluntary turnover 11%. At one time, it was low as 6 or 7%. We saw an uptick this summer, which is not unusual. That is a typical time for people to change jobs right before kids go back to school. And I attribute our total turnover rate of 17% to that. Our managers are being equipped with the tools to address performance issues, and sometimes, if someone is not the best fit, we're making sure that they don't stay on the team.
Can you show an example of that?
May I ask the question about voluntary turnover and what sort of exit interviews you have and any information you can glean about making onboarding or the employee experience better for existing employees by getting feedback?
Sure. We actually do two different surveys. So we do onboarding surveys as well. The first week that someone comes on, we survey them to make sure they had everything they need. Were they welcomed? Did we do a good job of sharing our culture and sharing the information they needed to get started? We also check in with them at 30 days and 90 days to capture, any issues they may have had beginning. But then voluntary separations, we also do exit interviews. So they receive a survey to complete, and then we actually bring them into the office, usually the last couple of days, and we'll talk to them and ask any clarifying questions about things that were in their survey. we provide that data to the city manager's office. And if there's a specific issue that a department director needs to know about that comes out of that exit interview, then we'll go and we'll share that as well.
What's your response rate on those exit interview surveys?
I would say
I thought it was- I thought-
85 to
I thought it was
90%.
pretty. Yeah, Doug. I think I asked last year to Serena, and it was pretty high. And I was like,
Very few.
Huh.
Refusing.
And even if they don't fill out the survey, we still have the meeting with them, and then we'll ask the questions and go through it
well,
verbally.
well, as James said, he said very few refuse, so he may be the hammer to make sure that people go out and answer these questions.
Exactly.
Or
I just want to make sure folks are leaving on good terms, even when it's voluntary.
It is. You know, the reasons for leaving, sometimes we have people going back to school. That includes retirements as well. We don't see people leaving for other cities very often. I would say that's very infrequent.
Wow.
We see a very small percentage that report leaving for a supervisor, like less than 2%. So we do have those metrics as well. But we try to spot trends. Ideally, we know if there's a problem before they decide to leave, but we do ask the question.
So let me ask this question, because I know that, being in the working world and having been HR many moons ago, and really the foundation, I think, of an employee that is either happy or unhappy with their job is not always the job, it's the supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
And so have we had any turnover in supervisory level positions because they weren't quite what we wanted?
Yes. I would
Okay.
say yes.
That's fine.
That's all you say. Because you know what that shows? It shows a health of an organization to address an issue when an issue is brought up to it. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent job.
We take everything very seriously. We take our EEO obligations. We make sure that we do live training and we have those discussions and we talk about scenarios rather than just a computer-based click through these slides and you've done your compliance training, because we want to train people to come and talk to us or to talk to CMO or talk to their ACM. If there's some sort of problem, I would say we are very good at addressing those when they come to our attention swiftly.
Good.
Excellent.
Do these numbers also include temporary summer jobs?
They do not,
Okay.
no, because we pretty much let everybody go at the end of the season unless they're staying on for holidays or fun camps. So that's almost 100% turnover. This year, we also completed our biennial survey of employee engagement. We asked employees to describe the city's culture in 3 words. So this is a word cloud that includes the responses with the largest fonts indicating words that were used most frequently. We had 300.
Stop.
We had 361 employees participate in the survey. That was 79% of those that were surveyed. Those were full-time and part-time as well. The seasonals were not part of this. This indicates that the employees do have an investment in the organization and they're willing to contribute towards making improvements within their workplace. The survey breaks down the 48 questions into multiple constructs or categories, and we saw the highest scores in our work group, strategic, and community. And we continue to focus our efforts on the constructs with lower scores, such as pay, benefits, internal communication. But I will say, even though those were our lowest constructs, they were still all in a positive range. I've used this survey tool before, many years with the state, and I can say pay and benefits are always the lowest 2 constructs on the engagement survey, but we are benchmarked against organizations of our similar size, mission, and we have the data for everybody who takes that survey, and the city outscored everybody on all of our benchmarks.
Do you have any insight as to the reason for the 21% non-responsive rate?
Employees that are in the field, we really make an effort to go out and bring laptops and offer them pizza, lunch to get them to sit down and do it. But I would say there's still some that they're just hard to reach. There's some people who, even when you tell them it's anonymous and we have no way of tracking back who responded or how they responded, there's still some people that are skeptical of that. But anything, honestly, above a 40% response rate is considered engaging.
Thank you.
I want to brag on KIPO here. With our new risk and safety officer, our department has made huge strides in enhancing our safety programming. Our incident review board reviewed 26 cases and made recommendations for trainings or changes to reduce future incidents. We kicked off a building coordinator program that designated trained staff members in each city facility to manage day-to-day facility issues, support emergency procedures, and keep safety top of mind. And in the spirit of teamwork, KIPO accompanied the public works crews to assist with the Sandy Creek flood response in July. The team cleared over 3,600 cubic yards of storm debris, including hazardous materials like vehicles, machinery, and utility wreckage. He also launched a new QR code for reporting safety hazards or concerns, and we've seen 65 submissions in 160 days. So together we work with departments to address those issues or areas of concern. We also started a new workers' compensation reporting process. Again, this goes for the people in the field who might have not access to a computer frequently. We made it simple that they can scan a QR code. It takes them directly to the form to submit their claims, and that has reduced processing time by 95%. So down to about 2 hours within an incident, they're being reported, where before it might be 48 hours,
40 hours?
3 days before we
Wow.
have those.
Wow, that is.
Because they can do it just
Yeah.
in the field from their phone.
On your the first point about, did you say 65 incidents?
That was 65 submissions of just
Submissions?
safety tips, or
And is that just with staff, or is that in the community?
that's an internal, just for staff.
Okay.
Correct. We also emphasized delivering safety training, so we had fire extinguisher, de-escalation techniques, first aid, CPR, and heat hydration for all of our seasonal employees, automatic external defibrillator training, as well as civilian response to active shooter event training, CRAZE. So KIPO is a certified CRAZE instructor, and we had 35 employees attend that. So overall, our safety trainings, we had 247 participants.
So the safety training is not mandatory then, is it?
Not some of these, not the Stop the Bleed or the CRAZE, but there are different safety trainings, related to the job, and we're working through those with our American Public Works accreditation.
Okay.
Sorry, one more follow-up question on the 65 submissions.
Sure.
So is there any data about the resolution of those submissions?
I do not have that tonight, but we can get that for you. Okay, accomplishments. In terms of public service, our employees completed 445 hours of volunteering in the Pflugerville community with our PF Serves program. A few examples of service include Meals on Wheels, trail cleanups, and reading with children in schools in our city. We emphasize leadership by presenting at multiple conferences and events, including Finders Keepers is our culture and retention presentation that I gave at the Texas Municipal HR Association Conference. Our risk and safety officer I mentioned earlier presented at the Texas Veterans Commission Job Fair. And our P+E team has facilitated training for city staff and managers in customer service, leadership, managing performance, and communication. Promoting our culture is obviously very important to our team as well. We took 100 new employees and current employees out on our Pflugerville family tour this year. The Wellness Committee continues to prioritize our employees' health with initiatives like on-site preventative screenings, the annual wellness fair. This year they added a pickleball tournament and held their own kitty cafe that led to 2 adoptions from Paws. And our fun committee continues to bring it strong every year. This year it was 12 events. A few highlights included a night at the ballpark, kickball tournament, the 2nd annual Pinewood Derby, and the annual chili cook-off. We continuously measure our compensation and benefit plans against other cities, and this year we worked with LEAP leadership to implement a revised police step plan and new promotion matrix for FY26. That will help us to recruit and retain law enforcement talent. We've also concentrated on sharing weekly benefit tips and promotions to assist our employees with maximizing the services that are available to them and minimizing their out-of-pocket cost. And we worked closely with our friends at Public Works on the American Public Works Association accreditation, documenting policies, procedures, and training requirements. And hopefully over the next few months, we'll wrap that up as well. So what's next? Serena Breland, James Hartshorn, and I will talk about the city's culture and retention with the Finder Keepers presentation at the International City Managers Association Conference in Tampa next month. We're very excited to be accepted as a submission. Along with other support departments, P+D is launching the Supervisor Fundamentals program. This is a custom training course for Pflugerville supervisors who are either newly promoted or new to the city, and it's focused on a lot of the operation type stuff. How do you approve timesheets? How do you do P cards? You know, some of those policies that they don't get as an employee who does not supervise, as well as some practical leadership in there as well. And in October, we'll kick off our benefits education campaign, and in November, we'll conduct open enrollment as well as relaunch our 457 program with our new provider Empower. We're committed to moving forward to attract, support, and retain the best workforce in Central Texas. We want to protect the culture that we've worked so hard to build. Our goals for FY26 are to develop citywide succession plans for our leadership roles, using individual development plans to prepare and develop our future leaders. We've been focusing on strengthening how we collect and use data, including recruiting and vacancy time to fill type metrics. So we're working to ensure our numbers tell clear stories that guide decisions that will support our workforce. And the next step in continuing our digital transformation will be moving personnel files to electronic, and we're moving as many processes and records online, improving our accuracy and streamlining the way we work, as well as getting rid of all that paper before we move into our new beautiful city hall.
How much of our, or what percentage of our personnel files are paper?
100.
Oh, awkward. Okay. Okay, that's fine.
I will say there are a lot of police files that are electronic, but P+C still has a paper employee file for every employee.
I know that part of our transition was previously, a couple years ago, was to do that regarding municipal court filings and everything like that, as well as to get those digitized. So I know that the effort's there, so I do appreciate y'all taking that as a goal in
Thank you.
FY26.
And kudos to our city secretary for helping us develop the plan to make that transition. We've spent a lot of time this year planning, and FY26 we're starting to scan.
Are we hiring someone specific to do that?
We are not.
Oh,
Budget.
It did not make the budget.
so it's you? I need a budget amendment. All right, go.
Second.
Thank you for your time this evening and your support throughout the year. I'm available for any other questions you might have.
Robbie, thank you very much. Great presentation. I'm totally impressed with all the
Thank you.
accomplishments and programs and strategy for keeping our employees and making it the city people want to work for. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to executive session. 2C, executive session, consultation with attorney regarding release of 324.014 acres owned by Jen Holdco 24 LLC from the city's ETJ pursuant to section 551.071 Texas Government Code. In 2D, consultation with legal counsel regarding 15508 Impact Way LLC versus Pflugerville Community Development Corporation and City of Pflugerville pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. We are in executive session. All right, we're back from executive session. No action was taken. We do have an open session item, I understand. Charlie, number,
We can do it at the end of the meeting, or we can.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
let's do it at the end of the meeting. Okay. So we are adjourned with the work session, and so I'd like to call to order the regular session of the City of Pflugerville City Council at 7 p.m. If you will stand for the pledge and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. You may be seated. Our next item is public comment. We have no public comment. Wonderful. Well, is there anybody here wishing to make public comment? This is your opportunity.
People have been waiting all day.
No? Okay. Thank you very much. I do have proclamations this evening. Our first proclamation this evening is regarding National Night Out, which will be on October the 7th. National Night Out provides an opportunity for Pflugerville to join forces with communities across the country in promoting police and community crime prevention efforts. It is essential that all citizens of Pflugerville be aware of the importance of crime prevention programs and the impact that their participation can have on reducing crime, drugs, and violence in Pflugerville. I proclaim October 7th as National Night Out in the city of Pflugerville. And this evening, Carl Kearney is here to accept that proclamation. Carl.
Oh, that's great.
Excuse me. This is a very special proclamation for me. I've gotten to know a lot of people in our community over the years, over the 18 and a half years. This individual in particular has been pretty consistent in his participation in Pflugerville and commitment. The city of Pflugerville values individuals who embody dedication, service, and leadership in their profession and community. Kamel Abdolim, I'm sorry, Kamel, I can't pronounce your last name, forgive me, is the service manager of the Pflugerville Marriott Courtyard and has consistently demonstrated an unwavering commitment to excellence and service. Through his responsiveness, dedication to detail, and exemplary work ethic, Kamel has elevated the standard of hospitality in Pflugerville. I proclaim September 23rd, 2025 as Kamel Day in the city of Pflugerville and pronounce him as an honorary citizen of the city of Pflugerville.
Woo! Yeah.
kids, yeah.
So great.
Ma'am, you can come up. I'll work with you. So you definitely get a good one. Yeah.
I don't think you're done yet.
Come here, just. Zach, let's meet everybody. Yeah, that's one more time.
Where are his big children?
I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Yeah, you take care. Thank you.
you know better. I should be wearing Austin FC.
Nice to meet you. Melody Ryan.
One more. Oh, yeah, the advisory council.
Give me a moment. So, as I looked out into the audience this evening, and I'm sure many of you have seen this space before, if you have gone to Costco, a very good friend and always just full of excitement and joy and happiness, Mr. James Jackson.
You guys want I thought he was coming up too. I know he's coming up too. I know, brother. I know. Good seeing you. He's like, hey, wait a minute. He's always bragging. All right.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council. I wanted to take just a few minutes to introduce our Youth Advisory Council for the year. So this is a program that runs October through May. We get to teach high school juniors and seniors all about local government and all the exciting things that we do. So we'll be starting with Planning and Zoning Commission in October, and then for the next few months, attending some board meetings together, being able to talk to both the staff involved in that particular board, as well as the board members themselves, so they can see the whole picture of what we do. There's also a YAC summit that we go to in the end of January. This is hosted by a host city, but through TML, we get all of the youth advisory councils across the state into one hotel for a weekend. It is very exciting and fun. So we get to go and everyone gets to learn about whatever we all need to learn about. They'll also be coming up with a project for the year, as the program hasn't officially started yet. Not sure what that project is, but that's part of the fun of this first half of the year. There'll be volunteer opportunities throughout so they can be very active in the community and see all the ins and outs and get to learn. So applications are still open through the end of this month, but I did have a few here that I wanted to bring up. And you guys all right here if you guys want to stand up. And then Mayor, if you don't mind, we would love a picture
Sure.
with our members and looking forward to the year.
Well, let me make a comment before you guys sit down. And I appreciate your participation in the YAC program. I know this YAC started, we had COVID issues a couple of years, but I think it's been in place now for at least 4 to 5 years. And it was a program to get students involved in understanding government, how cities work, and actually a great opportunity for you guys to put that on your resume for college as well. So I hope you take advantage of that. And as council members up here, please feel free to find out who we are, what we've done. A lot of the projects that you will see in the community start here, start in the community, and start with boards and organizations. And actually, if you guys have a great idea, let's hear it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Trista, I did have a question.
Yes.
So are you partnering with the CTE program at Pflugerville ISD for anyone who might be in like law enforcement or other pathways that might be interested in government or law to help recruit more members to be on the council?
Sure. So I'm not actively recruiting with them. I do reach out to a few people at the district as well as everyone at all the high schools and reach out to some of our charter schools in the area. So no, but absolutely open to it.
Okay.
I will also add, I know that there are a lot of programs such as speech and debate, and then Frances founded a civics club at her school. So we are also actively making sure we are reaching out to youth of the community who are either A, engaged in politics, or B, have shown that they want to become interested in politics. And then we've also advertised the Youth Advisory Council on social media, and then also at National Honor Society meetings, just to make sure that we are getting people who are intellectually stimulated and ready to serve the community.
Wow.
That's
Sounds like
You are ready. What schools do you guys attend?
I'm from Hendrickson.
I'm also from Hendrickson.
And I'm from Pflugerville.
Yes.
Okay, because I would love to see all of the high schools represented because it's important to have geographic participation as well. And
We
so-
definitely still have.
We actually amended our program to actually not just have the public schools, but the private schools.
Yeah, we have someone from a private school, don't we? Yes, or a charter school. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and we still have the applications open, and we really want to bring a diversity of people here. So,
You
Yeah,
guys are
and-
on the ball.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Get people who need some volunteer hours, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's usually the hook that gets teens. It's like volunteer hours.
Yeah,
And you get free swag.
Yeah. Free water bottles. We tell them about the
What
summit.
student council at the different high schools, private and public, as well as
we
I know
were-
there's other honor societies besides National Honor Society that are at Hendrickson as well. That could
Yeah.
be recruiting
Yes,
sources.
because I'm a part of the Hispanic Honor Society at my school, so I'm also getting people involved in that and volunteer stuff. Like we just had a food drive a couple weeks ago, so we also want to get those people involved.
Well, great. I encourage you to keep on the track that you're going. It's very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Wow.
It's great.
All right, council, our next item is the consent agenda items.
5E.
I would pull 5B and 5F.
Okay.
Mr. Mateo, what did you say?
5E.
E as an elephant?
Yes.
Okay,
E? Echo?
5E, yeah. Okay,
All right, I have items 5B, 5E, and 5F pulled from the consent agenda. 5A is approving an ordinance on second reading with the caption reading, "An ordinance amending and updating the City of Pflugerville Code of Ordinances, Title 15, Land Usage, Chapter 153.01, Comprehensive Plan repealing C and E by adopting the Water Master Plan dated August 2025 and the Wastewater Master Plan dated August 2025, providing for severability and cumulative repealer, providing for an open meeting and establishing an effective date." Again, items 5B, 5E, and 5F were pulled from the consent agenda. All remaining items may be acted upon in a single motion.
move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Okay, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Get the vote on air conditioning too.
All right. Moving on to our regular agenda. 6A, discuss consider action to approve the appointment of Ashley Bailey as the Planning and Development Services Director. Emily.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is my pleasure tonight to recommend Ashley Bailey as our next Planning and Development Services Director. After a long search, we have found our next director. Ashley is a Bobcat. She has her bachelor's in urban and regional planning. Eat 'em up, cats. She has a master. I didn't do him both hands. Sorry. She has a master's in public administration. She's an American Institute of Certified Planner and has also participated in Texas Women's Leadership Institute. She has over 20 years of experience. She started with the city of Plano Did a little stint in Arizona at a couple cities out there, including Chandler, Arizona, and then decided, I think, to come back to Central Texas, where she served the city of Round Rock as a senior planner for several years until she transitioned to the director position for the city of Taylor, and most recently for the director position in the city of Hutto. She is well qualified, and we're looking forward to having her on our team, and we highly recommend the approval of Ashley Bailey for this position.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As Emily said, I am Ashley Bailey. I am really excited to be a part of the Pflugerville group. So I will answer any questions you might have. But as Emily said, I have 24 years of experience, but then also I grew up in planning. I'm a second generation. So I did my first plan review about 8 or 9, and I fell in love with it, and I still love this profession. So being able to serve somewhere, I've lived in Pflugerville for 19 years, so being able to serve where I live, it has made a profound impact on my life and my children's life, is really kind of a dream come true.
You say you've lived in Pflugerville for how long?
Since it's been 19 years.
19
I
years.
moved back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So, Ms. Bailey, the only thing I will mention, and I don't think it's a question, is that I did get several messages of excitement that you were moving to Pflugerville. Several people in the community really excited to see you head this department, so I'm really excited that you're here and looking forward to all the great things you'll do here in Pflugerville.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
You have literally worked in some of the fastest growing communities, not only across this region or state, but country.
Yes.
I'm glad to see that you're able to adapt your assets here and, work, literally what work and play we always talk about. And that's great. At first I was a little concerned. I was glad to find out that was Bobcat red as opposed to Aggie maroon.
This is the other maroon. Bobcat flag.
It's the only real maroon.
But yeah, no, that's great.
So I'm curious, what do you see as the unique opportunities here in Pflugerville?
I think the biggest draw for me is really just seeing how much Pflugerville has affected my day-to-day, and then also really raising children here and then being able to then give back to the community that's given so much to my family, and then hopefully be able to have other people in the community say, man, I love living in Pflugerville because of whatever reason that they come up with. Even on my way over here, there was somebody on a motorcycle dancing, and just seeing the joy of people that live in Pflugerville stopped at a stoplight and dancing. And so I think that's one of those things, is just really seeing the joy and the diversity and the love that the residents here have, and they're so passionate about Pflugerville, as am I, and so being able to serve from the other side.
Thank you.
And Ashley, I think since you've been here 19 years, and I've been on council for 18 and a half years, I know the population wasn't 272, but I think you've been part of and have seen and experienced the what I call the warp speed growth in our environment. And I know we have some challenges moving forward with some legislative issues and so forth, but I think that as you look around, as you drive around, I don't know where you live, but I get around town quite a bit, is like all the development and growth that's going on that, when I drive up to this location here, I can see Baylor Scott and White, HEB, Amazon. I mean, from one location, you can see all the growth. So I know you've experienced that. So I know what you will be looking for in the future. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I can't believe David didn't ask a question.
She answered my question before I got a chance to ask it.
Good deal.
Oh, then we definitely we want her all now. Come to every meeting.
All right, you have a unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Item 6B, discussing consider action to approve a resolution nominating a candidate for the Board of Directors of the Travis Central Appraisal District, TCAD. Does anyone have a nomination?
I do have a nomination. I'd like to nominate Elizabeth Montoya.
Second.
Again,
Okay.
she's phenomenal.
Yes, she does.
She didn't really have a choice.
She's
She didn't really have a
willing.
choice.
She's willing to
Let's be
accept.
honest here.
She probably wasn't, I was asking for the record.
Hey, we got voluntold also.
So we have another spot that
Yeah.
we can nominate. Can a council member be nominated?
A council member can be nominated, yes.
I would nominate Melody Ryan.
Oh, gosh.
This is your cup of tea.
Actually, this is your bag. Yeah, this is your bag.
Can I ask for two separate motions so we can
Okay.
do
Absolutely.
Elizabeth
Yeah.
Montoya?
Okay, I have a motion for Elizabeth Montoya. Or did I have a motion?
We called it, yeah.
Okay.
We did, yeah.
All right. All right. Motion carried and
Motion to nominate Melody Ryan.
second.
There we go.
I got to ask Melody, you seem surprised. Are you willing to serve?
No.
Any
no
discussion? Call for the
You're about to be
question.
conscripted, so I just want to make sure.
I had not researched the time commitment.
Now, this is for a nomination, and
Yeah,
later we
so-
will have to allocate our votes.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I will accept.
You will accept at
Thank
I
this
did
point.
have
and-
my first experience in front of the ARB board this year, so.
Oh, I'll put it this way.
And
This is her bag.
and Trista, can you
Yeah.
give us an idea of the next steps with allocating our votes?
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So this will be, the two nominations will be sent to the county in October, mid-October to late October. They'll present a ballot for the city. That ballot will come back to council. The city has 22 votes to give to whichever nominee the city would like to give any combination of those 22 votes to before the end of the year.
How do we get 22 votes? I mean,
That's a great question.
Yeah, I saw the allocation, I was like, it's not very much, the total.
I think it's fine. Yeah, that's what to say.
I'd
Yeah,
like to point out
unfortunately.
at this point that there is not a single person serving on TCAD from east of I-35.
Which was very shocking to say the least, because part of the reason why our wonderful legislators went ahead and changed the
The
selection
selection.
process characterization of that was to have more inclusive representation. And I think this is a perfect example of
You don't
Intended
always get what
consequences.
you
I'm
want.
sorry, unintended consequences.
Oh, I was going to say the road to a certain place is paved in gold.
With good intentions.
yeah. All right. Thank you, Council.
The Wizard's Castle?
Moving on to 6C,
The Wizards Council.
discuss and consider action to appoint an interview panel for hiring in-house legal counsel.
All right. What's me on the panel? Yeah, I said I would help.
How many do we need on the panel? Up to three. Three.
That's right. I said I'd help.
You have Rudy, Caesar. Anybody?
So how many people are we going to put on this
Three.
panel?
We can do
So-
two or three.
Two.
We're going to put
David?
me, Rudy, and Caesar on there?
Okay.
Is that okay with everybody?
That's fine.
That's fine.
Okay.
I guess that's a motion, but I guess
I
we need
make
a
a
second.
motion to, who is it? To recommend, to approve Caesar, David, and Rudy, for the interview panel for our hiring of in-house counsel.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, motion carried again.
Yeah.
All right, item number 6D, discuss and consider action regarding City of Pflugerville Code of Conduct for elected and appointed officials and Code of Ethics.
Well, Mayor, thank you for adding this to the agenda.
There you go.
I know we had a heated discussion at the last meeting and
Spirited debate.
spirited debate, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'll also be the first one to say that nobody has ill intentions on anything that's happening here. And I'll say that Councilwoman Ryan has great intentions on finding transparency, and I back her 110%. And I think it's safe to say everybody on this council backs her 110%, despite what's being said out there with the keyboard warriors. They know who they are. Yeah. But in the spirit of this, I'm looking at policy 18 in our code of conduct. And really, all I wanted to add was, if you see what I'm adding right there, if a council member has requests for information that will require substantial staff time, the city manager has discretion as to whether or not staff resources should be used to provide the information. And all this does is allow the city staff and the city manager to be able to allocate their time properly. It's not saying that they're not going to get the information out to them. It's just saying that, hey, we'll get it out to you, but we can't get it out to you right now.
And a reminder that the city manager is one of our employees, so if the city manager continuously declines to provide information, that should be part of the performance review. So
Yeah, and a caveat to this is, if it's really important and it's not added, anybody could add something to, any one of us could add something to the agenda with two people.
Yeah.
So if it's something really important, two people could just add it to the agenda and it's mandatory, we'll discuss it.
I think that's fair.
So it's not stifling or stopping anybody from adding a question or asking a question or anything like that. It's just adding a little oomph to allowing staff to be able to allocate their time properly.
So, but the staff does still anticipate that, because I know all of us send questions, that you guys still understand that we still will be sending questions. That
Right.
doesn't change, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean,
I'm gonna keep them coming.
even yeah, because I said
Same
the questions that I saw from Councilmember Ryan, Melody. It's hard for me to call you all.
I know.
So, I mean,
Put some respect on that.
those were good questions. I thought they were good questions.
Well, I
So,
think, one of my, I guess, concerns about questions is that whether it comes from Councilwoman Ryan or any of the other council members, is that when we used to do this years and years ago, is that if a council member had a question or questions, those questions would go to each council member as well, so they knew what the council member was asking for. So if there was a issue or concern about something, then we were all made aware of it. We could either dismiss it or jump in or whatever the case may be. So I don't know that this provides for that particular provision or not.
James, that's a good question to the mayor's point. Don't we? I mean, I know Serena does. You guys do a pretty good job on Friday's reports. A council member asked a specific question.
I mean, ethically, I'm obligated to share information equally with council, regardless. So now there's a little bit of discretion, like if there's a lower level question, like,
What color are you going to paint the walls?
yeah,
I mean,
wall color. I'm not going to share that with all of council, but if it's substantive, I will absolutely share that.
Well, I take umbrage with that because all walls should be burnt orange, but that's okay. I'm fine with
I will
that.
not share that.
So, a healthy city council culture is built on open inquiry and thoughtful discussion. If we start placing limits or attaching stigma to the number of questions a member can ask, we risk creating a culture where people feel pressured to remain silent rather than seek clarity. That undermines our duty of fiscal oversight and weakens transparency. Our budget spans 230 pages with $783 million in expenses across 14 funds, 25 departments, and 113 capital projects. There's also a strict timeline of when we receive the information or updated information and when the next agenda item is for which we need to vote. With that level of responsibility, it is reasonable and necessary for council members to ask clarifying questions so we can make informed decisions for taxpayers. By defending the space to ask questions, we preserve a culture of transparency, collaboration, and trust in how we govern. So that's my opinion on that. But the enormity of the budget, the amount of time that staff spends to prepare it, I believe deserves the same level of respect in reviewing the information and making sure that we understand it when there's a few days to review something. There is a strict timeline set by law or set by the timing of the agenda.
And I think,
So, I mean, who's to say what is substantial, what's too many? This, that's a lot of subjectivity that you're bringing to it, and I believe that the questions that I had led to a discussion about the CIP and led to substantial changes in the estimates of what the projects were that we were going to be able to finish this year, what we were going to be able to complete next year, and so forth. So I believe that questions have brought substantial and improved changes to the budget that made it better and more clear for the public, the council, and for staff.
And I think that I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's safe to say that, especially with your statement, everybody here agrees with you. Nobody disagrees with the questions you're asking. I think we all agree on that. It's just about utilizing staff time properly and how we go about utilizing staff time properly. You're doing a great job. That's my opinion. Despite what the Facebook warriors are saying online, I believe you're doing a great job. Yeah. And so,
Well,
but it's just about not utilizing. It's not, as you said, there's a limited time to get this out there for us to absorb it, but also for staff to get it out to us. And on top of that, if they have an over amount of questions from all of us, it bogs them down. And so all I'm asking is to just allow the city manager to say, hey, give me a chance to get to this a little bit later. I can't answer that right now. Give us time, and
sure.
we'll provide transparency.
Except for the fact that when the item is going to be voted on in the next day, and you have the weekend to look at it, there's a deadline. So, you know, that's the limitations placed on all of us. We have to work within that deadline. But that goes to the point of the next agenda item, to allow more time to fully flesh out questions over time and over the year, and not so concentrated in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. But the other thing too is I try to be very respectful of staff time by spending the time to write it down and ask it in advance, so that it takes less time when we're at the meeting, and it provides staff with the opportunity to review the questions. And some are fairly simple because it's their work product and they have intimate knowledge of those questions that they can answer them quickly. If there's something that takes more time, I'm not a taskmaster. I may not, if they respond, I don't have the information right now, or we're going to get it to later. Then that's fine as well.
Yeah, and I'll just state that. I'm sorry.
I think let me cut in here just real quick. I think it speaks to something we saw earlier when Mr. Councilmember Mateer expressed shock and awe while interviewing Ms. Bailey that Councilmember Rogers had no questions. Why was it you had no questions, David?
She answered my question before I asked it.
She did, and I think this goes to. I will tell you, in my early years on council, I was certainly asking very, very many questions at the beginning of each meeting. Early years. I mean, back when I was a youngin,
whippersnapper.
those several years ago. And what I have discovered is that I think staff has grown accustomed to me, for good or for bad. That they understand what questions I will have. They seek to proactively answer those questions. So I think it is a good idea, Council Member Ryan, that you are asking these questions in advance, that you're giving them an opportunity to research it. And I hope that in the future, you won't have to ask as many questions because they will be answered for you ahead of time.
Well, I did number them specifically. For Councilmember Ruiz, to see that I only had 6 questions this
and I would add that,
week.
I mean,
it seems like we're making great progress.
230-page budget.
Hopefully that is reflective of
No, I'm
going to
add that although it's unofficial, each one of us in one way, shape, or form has had a mentor. And I know that Councilman Rogers has tried to take up that mentorship from time to time. And I would add that if you got some of us can answer these questions for you.
So,
especially
to
Rudy.
be transparent, Doug and I did meet, and we discussed, although he said he didn't have as many answers for me as I was hoping. So that's why I had to send them
we had several answers.
Yes. I didn't say no answers. I said he didn't have all the answers. And so that's why I send them to the subject matter experts of our staff, who, all the department heads did a wonderful job in presenting the CIP, because they know their departments, and it's the city manager's job to parcel out the questions to whoever has that knowledge. And so most of my questions, I'm hoping, are fairly quick to answer, and I'm happy to meet with staff if they feel like it needs a longer conversation. But I have reached out to everyone, because everyone has. We've met on multiple occasions.
You've never reached out to me since your election to answer questions. We met one time to have over coffee.
So I was gonna. So this is.
I've reached out to everyone, and I've met with everyone, and some people express a greater desire to assist me, and so if you are willing to do that, then I would love to meet with you and discuss more.
I think this is. I mean, Doug put it. I love Doug's anecdote, but realistically speaking, this is what happens in any sort of organization you're a part of, right? Like, I mean, I have paralegals and assistants who they start to cater and they start to change what they anticipate I'm going to need in a certain case, what I'll ask for and everything else and more for that. And they'll go from that. At the same time, I'm also cognizant of the fact that at times I may be asking for something that's going to be quite, large, voluminous, for better lack of term, and what I need for a certain case. And we try to hold each other, at least, my law partners and I, accountable that, hey, listen, if we're going to ask for something like that, don't just ask for it right before the deadline for a pleading or something like that. Try to go and give, something a day out, because because they will kill themselves doing it, because they feel like that's their job to do so. Yeah. And I think that, given how you've comported yourself over the last year or so, what's going to happen is that they're going to adapt. They're going to adapt to what you want. And honestly, I think they actually have adapted in some ways and adding some certain segments to it and outlines to that. So I think this is a good idea. I also think that what the mayor said specifically about, hey, everyone getting the questions, I think that's helpful too, so people are aware of that. And I think that moving forward, we're in a good place, in a good, healthy place. And let me tell you, you can judge the health of an organization by the type of debates that they have. And when you have these kind of robust conversations on the dais right there, accordingly, that tells you that you have a healthy organization, you have healthy folks, and you have a healthy ability as a team to work together to get an objective done. So,
and above everything, this is not about stifling your desire for transparency, all of our desires. It's not about that, despite what David's friends are saying online, and he's not defending. Yes, David. And, it's despite that, Melody.
Ruiz, I don't think it's appropriate for you to take swipes at people who are not here.
Well, I think
they take swipes on him when he's not there.
Well, to be
I think it's your duty as a council member, Councilman Rogers, to correct people when they are spreading misinformation.
Who are not here, who are not part of the conversation, it's uncalled for.
And I did ask Councilman Rogers, for the record, to connect me with these people so we could have a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, but I do want to add clarity that I believe our code of conduct does state that we are not supposed to make judgments on or say what you think someone's intentions are, either the other council members or the public. So I do think we should refrain from doing that, especially since we're talking about the code of conduct.
It's actually just for the guys, not the public.
Well, I don't know. I think it applies to everyone.
So let me ask y'all: is there an appetite? Is this something that you would like? Are you okay with this language?
No, I'm not okay with the language. I think that's a professional thing that the city manager can decide and can communicate to anyone who asks something, that if they think it's going to take an extra amount of time, that they can just do that. I don't think we need to add this wording. Okay. And they have done that before and I've copied.
Oh, I know. No, I know.
And I just said, this is what I would like to see. And they said, well it's going to take some. And I'm not yelling at them. You must get it done. Like,
I would disagree. I would say that by this, it shows staff that we are, going in the right direction towards protecting them and their time. And there's nothing wrong with this. I really don't see anything. It's just saying that they have the ability to say, hey, we can't answer this right now.
So, Councilmember Ruiz, one of the things that got brought up, somebody said it in our exchanges, the next item, the 6E, may actually, if we have this may help diffuse,
Well, but that's under the assumption that this would be the only item that would come before the city manager with many questions in the future.
Okay, so you think that there may be numerous items unrelated to the budget or the finances at hand.
Absolutely.
That may be asked for that.
Yeah.
It's a fair point.
With that, Mayor, would you entertain a motion?
I would.
Well, there is, is this the only item that we're going to be discussing on the code of conduct or on this agenda item? Because I believe that we did receive other.
Okay, well, we could address those one by one. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to add an item 18 of our code of conduct, that if a council member has a request for information that will require substantial staff time, the city manager has discretion as to whether or not staff resources should be used to provide the information.
I do have a clarifying question, though, because there is information that is public information.
Hold on, we need to get a second before we can have questions.
Okay. I'll second that motion.
There's information that is, by definition, public information, and staff doesn't have the duty or the right to deny the public information of what they asked for. So I
don't
because
think
it
I'm
says
saying that, do I?
Well,
whether or not staff resources should be used to provide the information. So I guess that's a
Charlie?
And
Does it sound like a violation of any legal statute?
No, I was actually going to say to her point, who was there? You, me, Doug? At the latest TML update?
Mhm.
They actually just codified specifically to make sure that we are allowed, we have special
We have elevated privileges and
privileges to get the information that we need. So
That's always, that they codified it, but that's always been my position under the case law. Although I always recommend that my council members request their information in their official capacity, not as part under the Public Information Act. The reason for that is if the information is there's a AG opinion and a AG opinion, which is important in this case because it was a Public Information Act issue, where information was provided to a council member as under a public information request, and information which otherwise would have been redacted if it had been given to a citizen was not redacted. And because it was provided under a public information request, the AG said that information has now been released to the public and is open to the public. And so if the council members utilize the Public Information Act process to get the information, then we need to go through the Public Information Act process and redact information that would otherwise normally be redacted if it was released to the public.
That's a good point.
So I always recommend that council members request their information in their official capacity, and if there is information that may be confidential under law, we have those council members execute a document that says they recognize that some of that information is confidential under law, and the release of that could result in implications to themselves. And that's how I suggest that those processes be used.
And that's my only concern with this is that it became an issue to enough where they codified something that we all kind of just thought, yeah, we do have that. And I don't want to get into a turf war over that. And that's why my hopes is that this Finance and Budget Council Subcommittee will help us out. At least let's see how it plays out.
We can get to that, yeah. And I'll just add, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, if there's something, say, that Councilman Rogers and I want some information and it's not given to us, we could easily put this on the agenda and force it.
Yes, but if there is a deadline of something to be approved on the agenda, getting it 2 weeks later is not helpful.
I don't. But I also want to make sure we say this publicly. I have not seen an instance where, in fact, there was something that you needed to make sure that you were able to make your decision on that. I just want to make sure that's clear.
I am not alleging that.
I know.
But
just want to make sure.
It's giving discretion to say, well, we're not going to provide it to you. And if there is an eminent decision that needs to be made, and this is part of the information that you need to make an informed decision, I hope that we want everyone voting up here to feel like they are informed on what is up on the agenda.
I agree. That's it. Yeah. That's the only thing I have.
Okay, have a motion.
Let's vote. Might actually pass for it, right?
You need to pick a vote.
I did. I guess I didn't.
All right.
Okay, there you go.
Motion fails.
Democracy in action.
Now let's go to. Wait, do you have something?
I think there's more on this one.
Yeah,
I'm assuming there is. We had more discussion in Lunch and Learn.
Yeah, so we had extensive discussions at Lunch and Learn, and then, of course, these were both passed out along with the agenda this last time. And so I trimmed back the proposals on both the Code of Ethics and the Code of Conduct to encompass just the things that I believe that we had consensus about. On the Code of Conduct, the essential change that is in there is just allowing the subcommittees that we already have. The Code of Conduct, as it's written now, does not allow us to have the subcommittees. Obviously, we do have the subcommittees. In fact, we're talking about adding another one tonight. So I would propose that we adopt the
Proposed
code of
changes
conduct
as a whole.
as amended that was distributed along with the agendas.
Is that a second? I mean, a
Hold
motion?
on.
That's a motion.
I'll second.
Code of conduct.
Yeah, didn't we go over it in the lunch and learn?
Yes.
Yeah, we went over it in the lunch and learn, and there were some parts of it that there were not unanimity about. Those are still things that I'd like to discuss later on. But I feel like, since we're violating our code of conduct every week,
Yeah, no,
the way
you're-
it's written, we need to change
But
that part.
But Charlie, you're not in agreement that we actually are violating our code of conduct every week by having a subcommittee.
I'm not familiar with the specific language that's being addressed. I wasn't at your
Okay. Okay. But
I fully support the amendments to the code of conduct.
I mean, I thought it was fine. Putting it, and I don't think that was the only substantive change, correct?
That's the only substantive change to on the code of conduct. That's
And
correct.
I understand there's the code of conduct, and then there's separately the code of ethics.
That's correct.
We're
Yeah.
discussing
Separate.
just the code
Right.
of conduct
So
right now.
this motion is just about the code of conduct.
All right, so move. Oh wait, we already got it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
I'll make sure I put my no vote in. Oh man, I pressed the wrong button. All right.
No, you didn't.
And then the second item is about the code of ethics. And there was a lot of discussion about whether or not we should expand the code of ethics to cover people beyond the first degree of affinity or consanguinity. And for normal people out there.
I was like, do you want to explain that, Counselor?
By blood or marriage.
So your consanguinity is the relationships that you're born with. So the people who are in your first degree of consanguinity are your siblings and your parents, your children, and affinity. Those are people that you form relationships with later. So your spouse would be in your first degree of affinity, but your in-laws would be in your second degree of affinity. And we talked about expanding the code of ethics beyond what it currently is in the first degree of affinity and consanguinity to the second degree. And we did not have unanimity about that.
Yeah.
So I pulled that out of the proposed ethics change. I still would like to have that conversation at a later date, but that's not in there. So the only substantive change in the code of ethics as presented tonight is to include more than just business entities as are defined by the legislature in the ethics rules. So currently, if I work for IBM, hypothetically, and IBM comes to the city council and they want to sell us, $10,000, $100,000 for the computer equipment. Because I work for IBM, I would not be able to vote on that issue. That's a conflict of interest because I'm getting money from people who are asking for money from the city. The way that the conflicts of interest rules are written now is that only applies if it's some sort of private entity, including a nonprofit. If I work for the American Red Cross, even though that's a nonprofit charitable organization, and even if I just work part-time for the American Red Cross, if I make 20% of my annual income or a certain minimal level, I think it's $10,000.
That was 10% or 25,000.
10%. There we go. Even though the Red Cross is a charitable organization, if I'm working part-time for them and getting paid, then I can't vote when the Red Cross asks money for the city. However, if I am the superintendent for the school district, and I'm sitting on the city council, and the school district asks the city council for money, I would be able to vote for that, even though 100% of my money comes from the school district. The way the rules are written now, that's not a conflict of interest.
Because it's a public agency?
Because it's another government agency. That's correct.
So the only thing I'd say is this: I just want to read about it more. I mean, what you're saying sounds fine, and I may actually come back with some more aspects over here. I want to look further at that.
I do have a question on definition, and it's something that's already in there, but you're proposing to expand it. So could you define for me personal pecuniary interest?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Pecuniary interest.
Yeah, whatever he said.
Yeah. Pecuniary means of or having to do with money.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this example, in item C, conflicts of interest, number 1, no city official or employee shall transact any business in his official capacity. I think you struck a with that you intended to leave in. Any person or business interest, group, or interest with whom he or she has any personal pecuniary interest, whether direct or indirect. You added group or interest, and interest seems dramatically broad. And so I was a little confused or concerned about interest. And then when I look around this dais, I see 2 Rotarians, 2 Lions, a member of the American Legion, folks who serve on PTOs and other volunteer entities. And I'm trying to understand if this would restrict the members from voting on something where they serve in a volunteer capacity or where they are members of a volunteer organization with no dollar value assigned.
No, as long as they're not being paid, it doesn't. It would not affect that.
Can somebody make the opposite argument though?
Yes.
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 What that?
That you gave us. You said as long as they're not being paid.
Right.
That is your opinion, and
well,
I'm
that's
asking,
the way.
Can somebody make the opposite argument later on?
Is that your legal opinion, or is that established precedent? Yeah. Yes, I think it's.
No, that's. That's the way that the way that the code is written. That if you don't have a pecuniary interest, if you're not getting paid, then it doesn't affect you.
Okay. But hold on, Rudy. It seems like you may not agree with that interpretation.
Yeah, I was about to say. I know that I've dealt with this personally with some city council or some governmental entities, because it's how do you define it? And some people.
Well, and there are some that say, "Well, we don't get paid, but we get a stipend."
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm just saying that's what some folks would say about these, particularly these volunteer organizations. And what you're doing.
Or if your expenses are reimbursed.
Yeah.
Well, so not in the code of ethics, but in our code of conduct, it does say that in which they have a material financial interest or where they have an organizational responsibility or personal responsibility, which may give the appearance of a conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. So I think our code of conduct was written to address things like if you were on the board of an organization and where you have an organizational responsibility, then that would be a conflict under the code of conduct.
I would say that if you're on a board, if you are in a capacity with any fiduciary obligations to the specific organizations, that in itself would cause pause. And that's why I don't mind. I'm not like dismissing what you're saying out of hand. I just want to look at this more. This is interesting. That's what
there's one more item that you added here, and it's in the footnotes, but for clarification.
Which footnote?
Substantial interest in business entity, group, or interest. So in my track changes version, it's page 3 at the bottom. Substantial interest in business, group, or interest. Do you see that, David?
Sorry, what page
is
that again?
Yeah. It's a section. The last section in the footnotes on what is page 3 in the track changes version. Substantial interest in business entity or group interest. So this is one where I'm seeking clarification, because if a person owns 10% or more of the voting stock or shares of the business entity group, here's the thing. That's a pretty easy thing to do if you own an S&P 500 index fund that you may own, or more than $15,000.
I was about to say the 15.
So yeah, sorry, it's the $15,000. If you own an S&P 500 index fund, you may own more than $15,000 worth of Apple. You may own more than $15,000 worth of Google,
or Dell,
you may, or Dell, or I can't recall who our insurance provider is here, but United Healthcare, again, very well represented in the S&P 500 index. You could very easily exceed $15,000. Is that something if you are holding in an index fund, in a mutual fund, or even if you're owning an individual stock in a Fortune 5 corporation, would that be a conflict of interest when voting to, let's say, approve the health benefits?
So under the local government code, which is the state statute where this language comes from, the answer to your question is yes. And we are prohibited by state statute from if we have more than $15,000 worth of stock in Apple, and Apple wants to sell us something, we can't vote on it. So would this require?
But that's a current law. That's not being
That's a current.
proposed.
I mean, you're adding it to the footnote here, so I was just wanted to, as it's currently pertinent.
So, for us to act accordingly, though, would then each council member be required to disclose their financial portfolios and
no, actually, Mayor, and that's I'm on the board of directors of the State Bar of Texas, and every year we have to disclose our financial portfolio. That's exactly the reason why we have to do that.
So that's not required of the city, and would not be. You would not have to do a full financial disclosure. But if you own $15,000 in Apple stock,
and we're buying MacBooks in the budget, does that mean you have to recuse yourself from the budget?
Yeah. Wow.
This is why I said I want to have a further discussion.
Well, but this discussion is about current law. There's no. This is the law.
You would have to pull that particular item out of the budget for a separate vote. They would have to recuse themselves from discussion and vote on that.
Yeah, but then that would apply.
Have to know about it.
But then they can vote on the entire budget.
But that would apply to every piece of hardware or capital that we purchase, because we don't know.
So the other exception to this is if the majority of the council owns that much stock in Apple, then it's not a conflict for anybody.
So what we need to start doing is having Caesar share his Apple stock with all of us, and then we'll be okay over here.
Well, I mean,
that is the way the statute's
I have investments. I don't know where the heck they're investing.
I agree with you, Mayor, but that's the way the statute's.
Yeah.
That is the problem. So,
but again, that's current law. That's not what we're discussing here.
Well, and that's
it's being added to the. It's
just
proposed to
clarifying
being added to the footnote.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, it's adding.
So it's apropos to the conversation.
Yeah.
It may not be
Sure.
relevant to the.
Yeah, I mean that's not being proposed. It's just discussing what our current obligations are under state law.
No. He's right. It's being added as a footnote, but it reflects what's already reflective in the law. What I'm saying is that this is a great conversation. Let's take time before we actually go ahead and move
We
forward.
have had 2 lunch and learns. We've had the time.
Okay, then let's take a vote.
Okay,
Call the
so
question.
wait. I want to more fully answer Councilman Weiss's question.
I want to make sure I haven't reached the point of absurdity, but yeah.
No, the code of ethics that we currently have makes reference to the local government code, but it doesn't spell it out. So by adding this the footnote here, what I'm doing is I'm increasing the transparency of the ethics code. I'm not adding anything new. The only substantive change, as I say, is to say that this goes beyond private entities, but it also includes anywhere else that you get your money.
Okay. So do we have a motion? No.
I motion we approve the code of ethics changes as proposed by Councilmember Rogers.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Let's vote.
Motion and a second.
All right. There we go.
Motion failed.
All right.
Democracy in action.
There we go. Anything, and actually, and that I want to have a further discussion on. I think
Is this something that we need more conversation on?
Yeah, that's what
I
I
need to
And
bring
for
back?
me,
That's what
I
I
feel
want.
like it needs more
Yeah.
more conversation, because like in smaller towns, like everybody's a cousin.
Everybody works with everybody.
So I mean, and who is going to be? I don't know what the
Policing?
who's doing the blood work?
We have staff members that can do that, I'm sure.
I just think it requires
Let me
it needs
swap
a
my
little more
cheese.
discussion.
We'll figure out.
My concern is that, so the substantive change was to cover all types of employers, because the substance of a conflict comes from the flow of money receiving a salary. And the logo on the W-2 doesn't affect the conflict that you have. You receive the salary, therefore you have a sense of loyalty to whoever your employer is. And so that's it's the substance of that. And so that was my concern.
Okay, so we can follow up with
Yeah.
further
We'll
discussion
follow up.
on this.
David.
All right.
We'll work on this some more.
Moving on to 6E, discuss and consider action to approve a resolution making appointments to the Finance and Budget Council Subcommittee.
Okay.
Am I opening this
Yes,
again?
you
Okay.
can.
All right. As a first-year council member, I take my duty seriously to provide financial oversight of our $783 million budget. Without a functioning Finance and Budget Committee this year, council lacked a review of the audit and the budget by the citizens. Our work sessions were limited to mainly presentation, leaving gaps in discussions and accountability. So by looking at the financials and the audits and the reports in more detail, it has led to refined estimates, adjustments of millions of dollars, and improvements to capital project budgeting, and resulting in more accurate and achievable plans for capital projects and city operations. And so to strengthen this process, I support creating a council finance and budget subcommittee that will provide regular reviews of financial statements, bond spending, capital projects, and impact fees, and work collaboratively with staff to improve in transparency and give our citizens greater confidence in how their tax dollars are managed.
Okay. I just want to say, I want to make sure clear, that was your statement and that was your opinion, correct?
Yeah, I take offense to your insinuation
Yeah.
that our process lacked accountability.
But it was your opinion.
No, for citizen, additional citizen oversight, we didn't have those committees, and so we didn't, where you have an opportunity to dig a little bit more into detail and ask the questions and.
But it was your opinion that we didn't have those opportunities, correct?
Yes, because there was no finance and budget subcommittee, finance and budget committee that met.
That's
So
all.
there was-
That's what I want to say, because I think
Yeah.
that for a lot of us, going back to Councilmember Reese's point, we talk and meet with staff all the time. And when we first started this budget conversation, whenever I first got it, 2017, 2018, whatever. And this is where I said that I think staff will adapt. You would not believe how deep we got into these things, and then after that, and then we started to see how it progressed and worked for there. I feel completely comfortable in having my questions asked and validated, and getting more in-depth information on a variety of different things that were brought up from there as well. Now, you may not have thought so, and that's your opinion. I respect that as your opinion, but I just wanted to make sure. That's why I asked you if it was your opinion, because for my question and my statement is that no, I think they've done an excellent job with that, and in fact, in a lot of ways, they anticipated things where I'm like, oh yeah, I used to ask that all the time. Sorry. Like I feel comfortable with where that is and going in from that aspect from that as well. So I like the idea, and this is coming from someone who likes the idea of this committee. Just how you go about doing it. You don't want to antagonize the people that are going to end up voting on this stuff. And I think that this would be, from my opinion, based on the questions you've been asking, this would help resolve things dispersed throughout the year, as opposed to something that would happen at the end of the year. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, so regular reviews. We do have a number of subcommittees, public safety, special events, legislative committee, where we have been meeting bi-weekly. Sometimes this is a subcommittee that's proposed for quarterly, to go over the regular quarterly updates, to go over the audit questions, that there are more detailed things. When you have an audit report that's 200 pages and a budget that's 230, that's why you have a subcommittee to maybe get into the details a little bit more, that have a desire to do so, and to provide that additional feedback. And so, we have a process where we have a budget review, and we have staff, and we have citizens, and we have council. And we have that because everyone has a different perspective and a different point of view. And by us not having a citizen committee, we are not having that same sort of feedback that we once did. And so there are questions that I get asked that I can't answer, like what is left to do in our 2018 bond package or our 2020? Mm-hmm. What's the status? I get, what's the status of when's this Cameron Road going to be, or when's this going to be? And we get annual CIP and the annual budget, and so this is just trying to look at it more often, so we have more feedback in a timely manner. And that goes along with those reports, that I think understanding how the flow of our money, so that we can then also provide that to the public, will answer a lot of those questions that maybe people are getting. And if we have that transparency page, we can give them more information, then they can answer those questions themselves.
So this committee would not have citizens on it, is that correct?
Well, this one is just proposed for 2 people.
Okay, well, you made reference to citizens several times.
I'm working on that too.
And I know that that's important to you. Transparency is important to you. And inasmuch as whatever has happened to our FAB committee whether it's this year or over the years, I know that the FAB committee has been in place ever since I was elected to office in 2006, and it seemed to function well. And I think, for me, I would rather have citizens on a Finance and Budget Committee to have more of the kind of the grassroots, the community feedback that we need regarding our financial operations. And certainly you could be part of that. I think you have been, right, Ms. Ryan?
Yes, I served 4 years as a citizen.
I was about to say, I think, strangely enough, I think maybe five of us came up through that committee, and then came to council. So
I guess I'm just saying that let's try to fix the FAB committee, and certainly you could be a huge driver in that effort. And I think that certainly through our efforts, we should be able to get some citizens involved in that.
So my concern with that is serving on the Finance and Budget Committee for 2 different terms, that there was a break in between. It's a lot of it is about presentation. It's not about, getting as much feedback. It's more educational, which is very important, and you do have opportunity for feedback.
I'm not trying to cut you off, but isn't that something that we can fix, because that's a program thing? That's not a
right.
Required aspect. It could be more substantive, to your point, right there, as a presentation.
I served on it for 4 years, and it was difficult to actually have a lot more of a work session type things rather than just presentation, like giving more information and working through things versus just.
Well, but if you received the information and had further questions about it, it seems like that would be the appropriate way for you to receive the information, would be via presentation. That seems like that's the main conduit of information in a committee. That the staff would be providing that information via a presentation. It's not necessarily a working session for the citizens to tell us to provide policy input, but they certainly could seek out factual information. And I would imagine that following a presentation, that factual information would be part of the question and answer session. So I guess I'm having a hard time understanding why you are supposing that a presentation format is inappropriate for that committee.
For the citizen committee?
Yeah.
For the FAB.
For the FAB.
Well, if you're looking for operational efficiencies, then that might fit into this subcommittee, and I just don't think that's where we need to go.
We're not looking at that in this committee, is that right?
No, my goal would be to review the reports, and
Just education.
yeah, and just review and provide feedback and have opportunity to ask questions on the regular report.
Okay. I mean, and just to be clear, I want to make sure we're clear about this. We do get a CIP update quarterly, am I correct?
Full finance.
Yeah, and yeah, hold on, let me make sure. I get called out for not being near the microphone. We get a CIP report quarterly. We also get monthly, and if we want weekly information regarding specific projects and aspects. How many times, James, have I hit you up and said, "What's going on over here? Are we on time? Are we under budget? What's going on with this specific
I'm not
aspect?"
aware of a quarterly CIP report.
That's
My recollection is that's new.
And where are we currently with our transparency CIP transparency dashboard?
Yeah.
Do we have an ETA on it? Are we talking a day, a week, a month, a year?
Do we need Apple stock to make it happen?
2 months.
Yeah,
we did. So 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not pushing.
No,
Okay.
you're fine. You're
No, I just want to make sure because I think that's a big part of it. Is
The
having that
facilities
information.
subcommittee meets and go over more detail with staff than it happens in the regular meeting. The special events goes into more detail than what happens at the regular meeting. So does the legislative committee. So, I mean, this is a standard protocol that has been established with, if you want to have a little bit more in-depth discussion about.
So I'm okay.
Reporting.
To the mayor's point, if we're not talking about Victor's right. If we're not talking about efficiency regarding that, that's one thing. If we're talking about more in-depth analysis regarding the applicable information that's demonstrated to us in our finances, I think I'm good for that. Here's my second question. You said 2. Who else wants to serve on this? David?
I would be happy to be the second. It might be, and I served 2 years on the FAB.
Yeah, we also.
So I have a little bit of experience in this. I am. Let me just say this: I am concerned that if it is Councilwoman Ryan and myself, we do not bring a lot of diversity of opinions.
All right,
about
that's
it.
fine. I'll be on it too.
Well, so
yeah, that's fine.
I was never on the FAB, but it's something that I wouldn't mind being on.
There you go. There's your third.
What about?
I
what about
asked you.
Caesar?
Sure. There's your third.
Yeah.
There's your third. So
well, we got. I mean, here's the thing. What I'm hearing though is I'm hearing like at least 5 different people who would be willing to serve on this, and it feels like this really needs to be a work session item, not necessarily a subcommittee, because it sounds like quite a few people are interested in serving on this.
So what if we
Who
did
was
that?
the
What
five?
if we did this? Because
I heard
that's
Rudy.
4 of us. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
4.
I heard Rudy, I heard David, I heard Melody, I heard me, and Caesar. I don't know, Victor or Ken, if you want to.
Yeah.
But at this point, I feel like.
So then how about this?
To be fair, I was trying to be respectful of everyone's time if they didn't want to be part of the work session and didn't have the same level of.
But I would do it for a work
to.
session. I would do it for a work session, but not every month. Like
so, then
No,
let's.
this was quarterly.
It's quarterly.
You're proposing quarterly, and
then, but
we're
more
receiving
often
a quarterly
during the audit and budget
CIP
season.
update.
So the dashboard will.
Well, the dashboard will be not real time, I imagine, but close. No, I mean, it feels like it's a quarterly work session item to me.
I think that's a wonderful idea to have as a quarterly work session. Get it in the rotation regarding what we're doing, and then if we need to create this committee at some point, we can have that. But we'll see if your questions again.
And my assumption is now obviously our fiscal year closes out 7 days from today, and it takes us a little bit of time to close our books. So I'm assuming this would be what mid.
This would You gotta give them,
mid-November.
you gotta go at least 60 days for year end. No.
I mean, well,
So you're asking for a.
if we're looking at a quarterly review, it shouldn't take a whole quarter for us to get to that review.
I would say so. James, my suggestion would be like something like December. When we have
We
our
only have one meeting.
yeah, we only meet, and have that.
Well, I'm trying to remember. Do we meet twice in November? Do we have one week of Thanksgiving?
We meet twice.
I don't
3
know if we
times
could.
because there's the election.
You usually cancel the
Canvassing.
second.
Oh yeah, and then Caesar and I shows up for the election.
Yeah. Hey, it only takes 2 to have a quorum at the canvassing.
True.
Why don't we put this committee together, and if 5 people want to be there, we post it as a possible quorum, and those members who are not formally members
Well, it's not a
of the
possible
committee-
quorum. It's a meeting.
Well, it's possible, right, possible meeting.
It has to have a meeting. It has to have an agenda.
Right, so there would be, but you could have the 2 people who are on the subcommittee meet, and then the other interested parties could attend and participate, or at least receive information.
So if there was enough people that it was going to be over a quorum, then you would have
It's
a
a meeting.
meeting. Then you would post it as a meeting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
if you're gonna do it if there's gonna be 4 people, it needs to be a properly posted meeting.
Yeah.
Like a lunch and
You'd
learn.
post a
Yes,
meeting.
like a lunch and learn.
So we could post it like a lunch and learn.
So
Or
again,
it could be a regularly scheduled
Yeah.
quarterly work session.
again, why don't we just do
It
it?
could just be our 5 o'clock work session
I think
at our second meeting in November.
I think
or whatever it is.
Melody put it best. She said she was trying to make sure
Increase
our
operational
time was okay.
I was being respectful
Yeah.
of the time. I didn't.
No, I think-
and we all agree.
I asked for other people to be on it. So a couple people that seemed like it was would be interested, and so I only got one response. So I didn't think that there was enough people that would want it to be a work session.
Well,
so this was my creative problem solving.
You should be pleasantly surprised that you have everyone who's excited about this. So let's try that. Let's try
I
getting that.
don't think Kim is excited.
All right, I like it. Let's do it. That sounds good.
All
So we're talking about November?
Yeah,
We're
November.
going to make this a quarterly work session item?
Yeah.
Can I clarify?
Do we need
that's
a
financial?
do we need a motion?
Financial.
Quarterly financial.
All
report.
finances. Finances.
Okay.
Nothing else. Except soccer fields.
So I don't have an action on this item?
No, you
action.
don't.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate
But we do have a
the
resolution.
enthusiasm for a quarterly work session. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
I'm excited.
All right, moving on. Thank you.
I wish we had more air conditioning.
Take off your jacket.
All right, so we have the items, Trista, that were...
No, the impact way,
Did we want to go ahead? Yeah.
the open session on the impact way.
Yeah, we have open session on...
6H.
Yeah,
6H.
6H, yeah, on Impact Way versus Pflugerville Community Development Corporation.
Motion to reject the summit as proposed.
Second. Have a motion and second.
Thanks, Troy.
Yes, sir.
Trista's like, screw you people. You're staying here all night. Someone's deposition's gonna go.
Sorry. Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
I thought you were done, but no.
All right,
Now
so
we
starting
got
with
yeah, we
All the items that are full.
Item
only
5B
three.
is approving an ordinance on second reading with the caption reading an ordinance of the City of Pflugerville, Texas, adopting the Pflugerville fee schedule, amending certain fees, and establishing costs and fees charged by the City of Pflugerville, providing for a penalty for a violation of Section 10.99 of the City Code of Ordinances, and declaring an effective date.
David, what are you thinking?
Actually, I think Councilwoman Ryan has more detailed questions than I have.
Oh, okay.
So
Shockingly.
my concern with this item is related to the water and wastewater rates. Because in the budget, the projected activity for 2025, the revenue was significantly under budget, as well as the debt. There was a mention of $8 million of debt that was under budget, and the debt is a major piece of what we use to determine our rates for the next year. So I didn't receive sufficient information about the impact of us reducing $33 million in the CIP for the utility fund for 2026, as well as the $38 million in 2025 expenses that was revised in the final budget. And so together, that's a significant reduction in project expenses, which could lead to a reduction in debt, which could lead to a reduction in the necessary increase in water and wastewater. So I don't have enough information about that impact, and so that's my concern.
Can you clarify for me? You mentioned it was $33 million in 2026 issuance, and how much?
In the capital projects, in the CIP.
In the capital projects, is that money that's already been issued, money that's already been drawn, or is that money that has yet to be issued?
Are you addressing that to me? Sorry, I'm gonna have to put my glasses on.
Yeah.
So I did not receive the answers to those questions. So that's my concern about voting on it, because I don't know.
Okay.
So if you reduce 2025 by $38 million in the projections of what we're going to actually spend, and then another 33,
right?
Whatever that is, 70-something
right,
million.
But the issuance,
I don't know.
Yeah, the issuance in fiscal year 26 would affect 27 rates, not 26 rates.
It depends.
Unless it has already been issued. And the question would be the projects that were migrated from 25 to 26. If that debt had already been issued, then it would be reflected it would need to be reflected in the rates, because we need to pay our bills, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess, that's probably a good question, James. That money that you referenced, is that debt that has already been issued, or is that debt yet to be issued?
I think that's correct, but Tracy, you want to clarify?
I don't think she wants to, but she will.
Would you be willing?
I'm sure eager to, right?
Well, I wanted to clarify on the WIFIA drawdown. It doesn't change the rates, because we still have to calculate the debt coverage. And unfortunately, the debt coverage is based on the full loan amount. It is not based on how much we've drawn down. So we still have our hands tied with that. I'm not exactly sure what bond you're referencing. I know we talked about the $30 million in general fund, which has nothing to do with the utility rates. Those won't be issued.
No, it was for 25 in one of the work session presentations. You said that our debt is $8 million under budget because of
just our annual debt payments.
Yes.
And that has to do with the WIFIA program, and that does not change how we calculate the utility rates.
So I think what I'm hearing, that sounds like a rather interesting nuance to the WIFIA program. So as I understand, the WIFIA program, it's essentially, I'm going to compare it to a home equity line of credit, right? Mm-hmm. We draw it down, we pay on it after we draw it down.
Correct.
And we don't have to pay the interest until we draw it. And that saves us quite a bit of money in the long run. But it sounds like the nuance here is that even though we don't have to pay the interest until we draw it down, we have to calculate our debt coverage as if we have already drawn it down.
Which means that we have to set our revenue at a certain rate in order to cover all of those
So
things.
even though we haven't drawn, even though we're not having to pay that interest, is that essentially how we build up a reserve in that account? I would say unintentionally build up a reserve in that account because we have that extra debt coverage calculated, even though it's an interesting requirement of that federal program.
Yeah, it is a legal requirement that we are that we have to adhere to.
So it still saves us money in the long run, but we still have to collect it up front.
Yes, because part of the question was, what do we need to issue for 26? We're still trying to figure that out. Now we have $6 million that we've earmarked to move over to the capital fund, which is based on that additional revenue coming in. And so we're still assessing those projects and determining exactly what we need to sell.
Okay.
But some of our debt, we've already started, and like we're almost about to close on the WIFIA tranche 2. Those projects are already in play. A lot of them are very large. We need that funding source to finish those projects. There's also 2 other Texas Water Development Board loans that we just got approval for that we started applying for a year ago. So all of those debt instruments are all in play, and they're all going to be closing in fiscal 26, which all fund current projects.
Does that make sense?
That was a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot for all of us.
Yeah. So, if I may use an example to codify my understanding, the $176 million that was just approved last time, even if we don't draw all of that down in the next year, we still have to base our water rates on what we were authorized to borrow and not what we actually borrowed.
We have to show our debt coverage based on the full amount of the loan.
So then if we don't draw everything down in the next year, then we're going to have another year where our debt payments in the budget, the actuals are less than the budget.
Could be. Yeah. Because we make estimates on how we think we're going to draw them down. And those estimates can change depending on construction schedules.
So there's a lot of moving parts, is
There's
what
a
you're saying.
lot of moving parts.
And is there a policy direction with the question? I'm just asking.
What's the question?
I'm just trying, well, number one, I wanted to understand how it's working, because in general, you would think that if you don't,
If you haven't drawn it, you shouldn't have to pay for it yet, right?
and you shouldn't have to charge the customers if you know, on the debt
But
that
it
you
but it
haven't
sounds
borrowed.
like, because this WIFIA program is, I mean, what's the number we've quoted in the past? How much is this WIFIA program saving us over the over traditional borrowing?
Millions. I mean, it's saving us
There's just like
millions.
$20-30 million in long-term savings.
Yeah, I would say the negative is the whole debt coverage calculation. The positive is all of these other things we've
But if we-
mentioned. But it does tie our hands to have to make sure that we adhere to that debt coverage.
Which makes sense.
means we have to have our rates high enough to cover operating plus a certain percentage of average debt.
And you've said that numerous times, and I want to make sure it's clear. That's not new. You've said that to us, hey, specifically. We've got to make sure that we are able to cover the specific coverage over here, because consequently, that's what the market and our debtors expect from us. However, as Doug so eloquently pointed out, there's so many other great advantages to that it outweighs what we have to do with our hands tied.
And not only that, but if we did pursue traditional financing methods for this, we'd be right where we are today regardless. We'd still be
Correct.
calculating our rates based on the money that we have issued instead of the money that
Correct.
we're going to issue. It's just this one, we save money over time. The traditional funding mechanism would mean that we would have already issued this money.
We get a bonus.
So it's...
Well, I guess it depends on the policy decision about how far in advance of when you need that cash are you actually going to draw down on your debt. So if you draw down now, but you're not going to actually pay the cash for a year and a half, that's a policy decision that, could increase the cost to the customers for paying for money that's in the bank. If you're going to spend it in 6 months and then turning it into an asset, then that's a better ROI. So that's the reason that I was asking for what is the timing of when we are borrowing to when we are going to need the money to pay our contractors for these projects.
And we're trying our best to constantly stop and look. Like right now, we're looking at our tranche 3 and seeing what we need for those projects. There may be a tranche 4 because it makes more sense to push some of those projects out. The challenge is just we should have closed for WIFIA in July. Then we were scheduled to close in September, and now it's been postponed, and it could be 30 to 60 days. That is a scary place to be, and so I can't cut that too close. Like, I understand what you're saying, but I can't cut that so close that I'm barely getting the funds in order to pay the bills. So we're trying our best to balance that, but I do want to make sure we're not, because as far as like Texas Water Development Board and WIFIA, we're at their mercy of, when we can close this thing. And, the funds were needed in July. So here we are. So we do want to make sure that we don't cut those too close.
I appreciate all the hard work that it's definitely a lot of moving parts that go through these complex calculations. My questions are just, I want to understand more about them because those are the things that people are asking.
Sure.
So I do think there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, I get asked a lot of questions. I see a lot of them. So I'm trying to make sure that I understand how it's calculated and what it's based on.
I mean, I'll give you an example of one of the projects in the 2020 CO. We had savings with the water treatment plant. We were able to go ahead and fund a project that we had not put in the 25 CO, I think $8 million. So we're constantly looking at all of our funding sources and trying to do the best we can with what we have, and not issuing too early or earlier than we need the funds. But these are all have been in place on projects that are already being built on the ground, so we have to issue the funds.
Now, my recollection, to pick up on Councilman Weiss's point from earlier, is that the estimate of the savings over the life of the WIFIA loan was around $27 million. Is that correct?
I would not want to quote that.
I want to.
On record.
It was double.
It was a
double
lot.
digits.
It was
10
digits.
It was double digits because we were very surprised to hear. We were like, wait, what? This is what we're saving?
But at this point, we only have one tranche actually closed. So we're looking at doing.
And the second tranche is closing in mid-October, did you say?
I mean, yeah, I hope.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
Melody, did the explanation help you feel comfortable with the item?
It helps me feel more comfortable. I am a visual person, so I'm just going to be transparent about that. I like to see the report or the list, but I appreciate that additional clarity, which I did not have before.
Sure.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was based on what we borrowed, because when I asked before, it was like you can draw down. So I thought it was what we actually borrowed.
Yeah, quite the nuance there.
Well, since Melody opened this question, now I got a question. It's nothing to do with this. Where's Shane and the Fields fee over here? Yeah.
Is that an item?
Yeah, because it's the fee schedule.
Oh, the fee schedule.
Are we charging soccer more now?
I want to.
Or did you just see Shane in the back and you wanted to bring him up?
About
discrepancies. So that's similar but less sophisticated questions.
Regarding that.
I was awake. There was no reason to call me.
I'm like, I didn't even see you guys.
He was placed there deliberately.
So one of the things I know we're doing is that we're about to put 1.5 million, looking at, with partnership with PCDC into Wells Point Park, which will make a demonstrable difference in what we're trying to do out there from that. We have shown time and time again that we're willing to invest in our fields, and I know that we're never going to be in the black, but how close are we with some of these fees that we have here? For some of the, I'd probably look more at Wells Point Park and 1849 Park. Fenning, I get, it's an open field.
Sure.
It is from that, but how does that look particularly compared to our compatriots?
So when it's tough to get 100% cost recovery on fields.
Yeah.
There was a time that we were really close through our master plan process. We were doing all the maintenance. But what we were hearing when we were doing the maintenance is it wasn't up to the standard of everyone around us, right? And places like Round Rock were using RS3, which is the same group they use at the Round Rock Express. And so we are in partnership with them now as well, and they do the fields. And I think if you look at the fields over the last couple of years, we hear a lot of feedback how they've done it. When I did the fields for us, I did it in self-defense. I was doing the best that we could from a Parks and Rec perspective to make sure those fields were at recreational offerings. Now they're at a level that they're great, but it's brought our cost recovery number back down. And so we're right at 50% cost recovery currently right now with all of our athletic fields. This does get us going above 50%. We do believe that regardless of the fee, we're going to see full usage of our ball fields, because even if it wasn't, we have a matrix that we're going to prioritize Pflugerville residents and recreational play first. But if for some reason these fees were just too high for them, we do believe other folks outside of Pflugerville would rent our field. So we're not worrying about
which is happening right now.
Right. We're not worrying so much about the rental. We're wanting to make sure that we're offering these fields to the Pflugerville community, which is why you are still subsidizing them. So we'll be north of 50%. which I think is really good when you see what other agencies are doing. If you wanted us to do 100%, we would really have to raise those fees to a point where I don't think your Pflugerville residents would be able to afford them at any point. There would be folks that would use them. They would be from Westlake and other areas that would gladly make the drive for the fields we're offering right now. The fields we're offering, the play surface we're offering, are incredible. And unless there's some sort of issue, we had armadillos out on pod 1 a couple weeks ago. We caught them, but they'll root up a field really quick. What you get out in Central Texas fields, right? But we have an incredible surface. You are subsidizing it to ensure that Pflugerville residents that are recreational are still getting access to those fields. You're going to see an increase of that, but you're not going to get to 100%.
Well, and compared to aquatics, 50% is a miracle. Aquatics would get what, 30%, 25%?
Yeah, you're closer to 25% cost recovery on aquatics. And once again, we also know, and we're in the Parks and Rec industry, we're in the service industry. If you teach someone how to swim, you make them 90% more likely to not drown, which is an incredible stat, right? That's a service to the community. So things like our swim lessons that are subsidized, and we have thousands of people, adults and youth, going through that program, we make them much more drowning proof than if they had never done swim lessons. So there are things like aquatics, and there's so much maintenance that happens with aquatics and the year-round maintenance that happens for a peak season usage. Even though some of our facilities aren't peak season, we use them year-round. That it's tough to be cost recovery on those, but it is a service you provide to the community.
Now, speaking of cost recovery, where are we with regards to the rec center fees? Obviously, we're going to be having higher rec center fees with the new rec center, but I've recently had an opportunity to compare our rec center fees to the rec center fees in Round Rock. We seem to be considerably lower.
We are. Our offerings considerably lower.
Our offerings are not as deluxe as they are in Round Rock. Do you feel like the fees that we have there are appropriate as they are? We need to raise those, lower those, and what will be the difference when we open the new rec center? Are we looking at a doubling or tripling of fees for the new rec center? Are we going to have a separate fee schedule for the existing rec center and the new rec center?
So the current rec center, I wouldn't make any recommendation in this next year to raise those fees, just because at some point those fees are going to go up when that new facility opens. And I think we would be hyper-focused on the education of letting the public know that we are raising those fees. I think we're coming to y'all potentially at y'all's retreat in January to talk to y'all about the management of the rec center, the fees that we're going to recommend of that rec center. At one point years ago, when we were starting work with that citizen group, there was a recommendation of this body that those fees be 60-70% cost recovery. The current financial climate that we're in, and the fact that we've all had to cut back on things, I don't know if that is something you are going to think is sustainable. I think we can get a lot closer to 100% cost recovery. That does increase the barrier to entry to that facility, and that's just something we're all going to have to discuss and be comfortable with. I don't know right now what that number will be. It'll be higher than what they're currently paying, for sure. I wouldn't raise those fees. What Round Rock is currently offering versus what we're currently offering, it's no comparison. Our fees are very representative of our current offering. But at the new facility, it's going to be an incredible facility, second largest in the state. It's going to have some things that no one else has. And so I think there'll be some discussion at y'all's council retreat, and ultimately some education over that next year on what ultimately was decided, why it was decided, and if we're going to offer some sort of discount, use CDBG funds to help discount some folks or communities in that facility, things like that. We're going to look at all the things we can as far as cost recovery and financial assistance to make sure as many people that are possible going through that facility. I just don't have those numbers right now.
And we do have a substantial discount currently for seniors at the rec center.
We do.
We're looking at doing that at the new rec center as well.
Yeah, that'll be part of that discussion as well. It'll be different than what it is currently.
It'll be up to us to set.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I was going to say, the Silver Sneakers program is, something.
There's great programs that we're going to have to key into to help seniors if we're trying to get that rec center at a cost recovery.
Yeah.
Okay. And how close are we to cost recovery on the current rec center?
About 45%.
About 45%. And our goal at the new one is to be 60 or 70? Is that what I'm hearing?
My My recommendation is it's going to be higher than that. That was the original discussion. And if y'all wanted to do that, we can roll out fees, but y'all would be subsidizing. So if you have a rec center, it's got a $200,000 budget annually, and you subsidize that at 55%, you're subsidizing what, $100,000. If you have a rec center that's got $1.5 million operating budget, and you subsidize that at 60%, you have 30% of that. So, potentially 500, 600,000 that has grown into the budget. So it's just something we're going to have a discussion on and ultimately make a decision on.
Well, I think that also goes into a whole conversation about what we do with our old rec center, right? Like what?
Right now we have no plans to continue to operate both. It would just be because it would be that 1.5 potentially, and I'm just making that number up right now as far as running the new facility, and then the 200,000 or whatever it is to run the old facility. It'd be that combined cost now, right? And so we're focusing on opening up that new facility and running it and serving the seniors, serving the youth, serving the adults, all the fitness-oriented folks, the rental space, and allowing the city to re-envision what that old facility can become.
Which makes sense because I think part of the reason why this is a multi-generational space is because we denoted we want to have space for our seniors to be able to operate. And one of the things that was it Councilmember Ruiz and Councilmember McDonald went on that trip.
They were on that committee as well.
Yeah,
yes,
and you saw, I forgot where you went, and you talked about, I'm about visual, like I remember exactly the conversation.
Capel?
But you saw was it Capel?
They saw 7 or 8 facilities in DFW.
But what he brought up, what I remember specifically, was seeing the interactions of the seniors with the youth and how excited they were to have the youth coming in and from different school districts and other folks.
I think that was at Thrive. I think that was at Thrive in Louisville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There we go.
You remember that, Rudy?
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
There's
I'm about to look for tape.
the new facility will have a lot of different offerings, a lot of different opportunities to serve all the populations.
Yeah.
And there'll be some discussions on what the city subsidizes.
Can we get back to the?
Yeah, go ahead.
How are we on these fees?
Unless anybody has any other questions, I move to
that was good.
approve 5B.
Second.
Motion and second.
We're gonna have a very robust January discussion.
Okay, motion carried.
Next item is 5E, approving a consulting services agreement with Ken Thies in an amount not to exceed $130,000 for interim assistant police chief consulting services and authorizing the city manager to execute the same.
Just want to get a presentation on it.
So I know Councilmember Rogers pulled this, but you had a question, Rudy? There's no presentation.
Oh, no, I pulled it.
I can answer a question.
Oh, yeah, so
you just want to see the guy who's going to be the interim assistant chief?
So he's currently working.
He's been working for us.
Yeah.
What's the question?
There he is.
Well, I mean, I was going to talk about those houses. Specifically, we said that he's done well. We've got I think we have housing covered. We had a specific fee. We want him to continue on moving forward in this capacity. I've actually heard a lot of great things about you.
Thank you.
And the work that you're doing from there with that as well. I guess I kind of.
So he's been working for us for some time now. So we had 4 of our 5 top people in PD turnover, right? Mm-hmm. And so now you've got Steve and Ken and Jason, who those 3 doing the work of what was 5 people. Mm-hmm. And so Ken handles patrol, which is the largest division of PD, and Steve's handling the rest, and Jason helps with administration. What this does is this gets us funding, worst case scenario funding. I don't expect to spend that full amount because that dollar amount gets you through the end of January, not knowing the timing of when the new chief would actually be able to start. Those interviews happen mid-October, but they might ask for a January start date. Based on their personal situation. So
that's what I was about to ask you. 1, I was going to say, is this enough money? And then 2, what are we looking at regarding the timeline?
That's right.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, this is just spending on a third party, an outside consulting agreement versus inside salary.
So it's a contract basis.
Yeah, it's a contract basis.
Contract.
So it's not going over
services.
budget. This is in budget. It's just a separate contract.
And it's passing that threshold of 50,000, so we needed to bring it to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Thank you for serving on the team.
That's excellent.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Motion approved.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Yep.
Yep.
I second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
I didn't hear.
Second. Oh, Kimberly, second.
Never mind.
Third.
All right. A motion carried.
The last item is 5F, approving a change order in the amount of $353,256 for 1849 Park Phase 2 with G. Hyatt Construction, Inc., and authorizing the city manager to execute the same.
So. Oh, we're getting somebody else.
What's the?
I thought you were going to come up and answer the question.
Look at Shane getting lazy.
Oh, Shane's not doing it. Shane's sending us.
What is Shane doing working here?
I'm happy that you're here.
Thank you.
Second in command.
That makes one.
All right. So I look at that and I'm like, that's a big number for us to be making a change order for Peace Park, over $350,000. But I understand it's not our idea.
It's not.
Can you explain whose idea it is and why we have to spend $353,000?
It's the government.
Sure. So
Just real quick,
not.
David, I thought I heard you say Peace Park? This is 1849.
No. I'm sorry.
we're not moving Peace Park over.
Park Phase, but yes.
He did say Peace Park.
Yeah, I just want to make sure this isn't a neighborhood park. This is a regional park.
Peace
This
Park
is.
and we know
That's a little different park.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure this is a pretty large scale park.
So when we were early on in this process, design into construction, the design team was coordinating with Encore on a dead-end transformer, and I'm having to learn a lot about. I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm a simple Parks and Rec guy, so bear with me. But on an on-site meeting earlier this year, Encore informed us that we would be required to create a loop electrical feed. So we've been working on the easement documents with them. We asked them a few times, is this a recommendation? Because there's some benefits to the electrical grid in that area. There's also some benefits to our location, but is this a recommendation since we're already in construction, or is this a requirement? This is a requirement. So for Encore, a looped electrical system benefits them by improving their reliability and reducing their outage times. And then their concern was, as that area further develops, this is going to help with load flexibility. If you ask me to define that, I can't. So I'm sorry. But one benefit of this change for us is that it does drastically decrease the chance that we have outages in this facility, since it's a loop feed. So it's not totally just beneficial to Encore. It also benefits the facility. But the original design was a dead-end transformer, now being transitioned to a loop feed.
Okay, and this is not optional. This is
optional.
You got to spend the $353.
Yes,
there are no two ways about
it. Our electrical plan is dependent. The approval from Encore is dependent on us doing a loop feed.
So we don't have this, then we don't have electricity to the expanded part of the
right. We'll
park.
have fields. Wouldn't have lights and restrooms and concession stand.
Have we had outages previously? Is that a major concern? I'm curious.
I'm not sure if we've had outages previously at that site specifically. We've certainly had outages.
I've never heard of any outages.
Yeah.
And we used to, but I think Bird's Nest took care of a lot of that.
Shane was way too comfortable in the back of the room.
Sorry, Shane.
You're
You're going to get your steps in today.
Seriously. Yeah, we have had a couple different outages out there in the past. Some of them are weather-related, electricity or other things, but we have had a couple. We haven't had any in the last 18 months or so, though. So we're doing okay.
Good. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Motion approved.
Second.
Bueller.
All right. Let's move on. Get out of here.
I thought I was going to be at Wells Point Park coaching today. I guess not. Only the kids suffer.
Motion carried. There are no other items to be considered. We adjourn.
Thank you.
That's